Well, Bouthaina Shaaban is a minister in Assad's government and an advisor to the president, and she joins us now from Damascus. Thank you for being with us. We've just been showing some video of people taking to the streets around Syria following President Bashar al-Assad's speech, and we've had a statement from the US State Department saying what is required now is action, not words, and it seems to be a common refrain. The president has consistently promised but failed to deliver.
Well, I think some people get used to repeating some phrases or some sentences. The president promised and he is delivering. The martial law was lifted, committees for new political parties, for new electoral laws, for new media laws are being drafted in earnest by committees. They are going to be submitted to a national dialogue. The president spoke about the narrative of what has been happening in Syria and about a vision of where to take Syria forward. And I think he put everything up to the national dialogue to decide with full participation by both opposition forces and by all other social stratas. This is the first time that this happens in Syria, and this is the first step on the road. And I think what the US and other countries need to do is to support Syria in this democratic march and to offer help rather than criticism.
You say that the martial law has been lifted, but that is one single thing that has been done well after it was initially promised, and yet we still see soldiers, military, police in the streets taking often violent, often deadly action against people. What purpose is there in lifting martial law when the citizens are still afraid and still fleeing the country?
Well, there is a problem in the country. You remember there are over 400 of military and police people who were killed in Syria by militant groups and by terrorist groups. The problem is that the West does not want to acknowledge the nature of the problem in Syria. But the president has spent 2 months talking to people from all over the country, from all cities and villages, asking people about their grievances, about their problems, about the situation, and hence he came up with a vision that responds to the desire of the Syrian people and that carries Syria forward with the full political participation of all other forces.
I'm sorry, are you saying the president personally has been talking to ordinary citizens in the villages and towns around Syria? Is that your claim?
Absolutely. They've been coming to the president. And for the last 2 months, he met with thousands of people from all over the country, from all social stratas, from all walks of life, from all religions. And hence, the president's vision is based on what the Syrian people want and what the Syrian people need.
Well, it's interesting.
And what the president...
It's interesting that you say that they've been approaching the president, because there was one line in his speech, and I'll quote it to you verbatim, just a few hours ago, and he said, "Fear has prevented citizens from approaching the state." So if he's aware, and I'll read it to you again, and this was a line in his speech, "Fear has prevented citizens from approaching the state." So clearly the president is aware that people are too frightened to speak up. So I'm not entirely sure what he learned from these trips around the country and what he thinks is the view of the people who are too frightened to talk to him.
Well, if you read his speech, you would know how much there was in the speech about what people said. And he spoke a lot in his speech about the media and about the role of the media. I think the appropriate approach to the speech is to say that the president has spoke about electoral law, about political law, about reviewing or even changing
but with respect,
the Constitution.
the president has been talking about this for 11 years now, and even today there is no concrete proposal on the table.
Excuse me, this is the first time that the opposition is invited for a full political participation. This is the first time that the president speaks about reviewing or even changing the Constitution. This is the first time that the president calls for multi-political party system in Syria. This is the first time that the president says national dialogue is the master of the day and it is the one that will decide our electoral law, our political party system, even our constitution.
Well, can I ask you to elucidate a little bit on something a little bit more specific and concrete, rather than just general conversations about national dialogue? What is this national dialogue going to involve, and who is going to be involved in this dialogue? Because many of the people on the streets say that they fear that the people that the president is talking to are not the people who should be representing them.
Well, this is not a general conversation. When you invite representatives of the opposition and of all social stratas to come to a national dialogue and to put all the laws at the table, including the Constitution, and say we are going to start a march for political participation and for democracy, and we are going to review all our laws in a way that will make Syria a better place, in a way that will address people's grievances, in a way that will address all weaknesses in our social and political and economic system. This is not just a conversation. This is a huge political decision that Syria will be very different after today from what it has been before.
All right, and you have mentioned at least a couple of times in this conversation that part of this tremendous change is going to involve liberalisation of the media. So can you tell me when we can expect to be allowed to come to Syria and observe these changes in action?
Well, whenever you would like to come to Syria, but I would like to invite you also to have an objective and fair coverage. For example, today there were at least 10 demonstrations pro-Assad and pro-the speech. You only showed on your channel the demonstration that are against. So would you please be objective to show at least both sides of the picture, and then you would be invited anytime you like.
I would love to do that. So is this an open invitation?
Okay.
Because if you can facilitate my arrival in Syria, then I'd be happy to come along and have a look at these events.
You would be most welcome, and I mean it.
Excellent. I will be in touch with your people after this particular broadcast. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us, Bouthaina Shaaban.
Thank you.